One of the reasons I love painting is I just like the physical stuff of paint. It's so delicious. The paint's not edible, don't eat the paint. So whenever I get a new paint, I just really want to get to know it. So in this case, I've got this. It's a Michael Harding Phthalocyanine Turquoise. And it was sent to me by a friend of mine who, I guess he didn't want it, so he gave it to me to try out. So I'm going to try it out. And so one way I like to do that is just to paint a little study, a little head study, that is predominantly just this paint, and to something else, something to darken it and something to lighten it. So I painted this little sketchbook study, and yeah, kind of nice. 30 minutes. I learned a little bit about it, learned about its quality, because you can read the stuff, right? It says on it. We can learn it's an inorganic pigment, low oil content, it's opaque, average drying time, excellent light fastness, and average tint power. I think it's more than average tint power, to be honest, but whatever, average, right? It's not until you actually do a painting that you learn about the qualities of the paint. What kind of mood does it create? So to do that, I just like to do these little head studies. So I did this little head study, recorded it, chatting away. So it's one of these, it's a painting chat, learning about phthalocyanine turquoise and how it works with, in this case, permanent orange and warm white.
Mr. Neil Conning painting.
So today's video, do a small sketch with this phthalocyanine turquoise. So I don't know much about this pigment, and when I get a new pigment that I want to understand, I like to just do a painting just using that. So there it is there. I'm just going to do a painting with that and some white, some warm white, and a black. Although maybe, to make it a bit more interesting, in fact, I'm not going to do black. I'm going to do something more interesting. I'm going to get, what's this? Yeah. Permanent orange. So I'm going to use permanent orange to darken. And I'm going to use my white. Never find, even though I keep them in the same place, I can never find paints. There it is. My warm white. I love this warm white. It's just a little bit more friendly. I'll put it here just so it's the three and you can see what I'm doing. I'll try and mix. I've got a reference, just some kind of random reference from the internet. It doesn't matter very much. And so I'm not even going to really show it. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm going to begin with what is really just a little drawing. But I'm going to use the phthalocyanine, the turquoise. I'm going to call it the turquoise rather than the phthalocyanine, which is just kind of tricky to say. So this painting, right, it is just a sketch. I'm going to try to do it quite quickly. All I want to do is understand this colour. So I'm just going to be drawing out the shapes as I see them. including your working out. Just big to make this painting. So big to make the head. I'm kind of sight-sizing in that I have the reference just here. And it is kind of the same size. I'm maybe making it a little bit smaller. So far, it's quite a nice colour straight out the tube. It's quite, it's got a kind of aquatic kind of feel to it, which you would expect from a turquoise. I have some other pigments that are kind of similar, but it's certainly very blue. It's not looking like much so far, but there's no panicking. This is not. Actually, it's all going to change. Then, anyway. I'm going to get just a flat, and we're going to mix up. So using my turquoise, I'll just get this. I don't really look at this, but this is what I'm thinking about. So my turquoise is definitely in this range. Blue, green. And so if I want to make that darker and less chromatic, I need something at the opposite end of the color wheel. So that would be a red orange. So in this case, I'm just going to use orange. It's close enough. And that's going to make it darker and less chromatic. It should do anyway. So you see there, I don't know how easily you can see that, but it's definitely working. So let's see, right? Yeah. So it's giving them a bit more body as well, I found. It's quite interesting. I'm going to jump backwards and forwards between these because I'm kind of still drawing. You know, I'm not done with marking things out and finding the big shapes. I'm not done by a long way. This is all quite dark over here, so I want to just get that in. Because I think I actually want all of this kind of mid-tone stuff to be in the turquoise. You know, like all of this swirled here. So I might just use my toothpick to just change that a bit, because I think that not toothpick, head swab. See that brown in there? That was just my my paint water, my solvent being a bit dirty. Clean your solvent. Don't be like me. Clean the solvent. That shape was kind of more like that. So I've got this shapes right here, so I'm just going to blow it out and fix it later. It's a totally reasonable thing to do. You know, some people paint in an extraordinary way that I don't understand, where they'll paint, you know, paint the eye, right? And then we'll kind of paint the eyebrow and then the nose. Before you know it, they've got this kind of beautifully rendered piece. And it's kind of amazing, but I don't understand how they do that. And I also don't feel like it's as fun as painting, where painting feels more like sculpture, where you're pushing and pulling. Painting like that, you have to not be afraid of this stage, where it looks bad, it looks a bit ugly. You have to have faith that you'll get there. Or at least not worry if you don't get there. Just pursue more. Just maybe more truth. But I've started to see some things even just now that are giving me a wee bit of hope. So look, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the phthalo straight out of the tube. I'm just going to start adding little bits of the white to see what happens. So a little bit. And then just sort of sample it on the canvas, the sketchbook. I mean, yeah, it's quite, we'll say it's, I said earlier it was a bossy colour. And what I mean by that is it's overpowering. So this is taking quite a lot of the warm white to change it. You know, that's starting to offer something else now. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that there, and I'm going to start to say, okay, that's my kind of mid-tone aquatic blue. It's going to form the base of the major shadow mass of this painting, of this little study. Part of the reason why I don't like that idea of painting in pieces, where I do this bit and then that bit and then this bit, is that it seems to me like quite a lot less fun. You know, I'd have to do a lot more pre-planning. And actually I really like the kind of struggle. I like working through this. It's satisfying at the time. This is what I like about painting. If everything was always planned out, then I feel like I'm not going to enjoy it as much. I don't know whether that's true or not, but it feels like it's true. In fact, it's definitely true. It's true. I also think when I see people's paintings, I like it when I can see the struggle. I like it when I can see that struggle a bit. I even think that when I look at, you know, sort of old masters' paintings, I can see the struggle there. So every time I start to lose the drawing, so like things are getting lost here, I just get that dark back. Not necessarily resolve it entirely, but just look for it again. Just look for the shape again. Just blobs. That's all we need to worry about. Just find some blobs that kind of work. Another thing that's important to do is sometimes easy to forget. Just at a certain point, after the drawing started to go in, you got to get rid of the white. All the white's got to go. When I say white, I just mean the background. Obviously, some things you might have to leave it deliberately. But in order for me to judge these values properly, that white needs to go. So now, before, when I had all that white there, it was messing with the way I was thinking about where the highest value is. You know, what's the lightest light? Now, the lightest light's not something over here or a wee flash here or it's left over. The lightest light is now the forehead, which is what I want it to be. So I'm quite a messy on the palette, which you can maybe see. I'm just doing these kind of puddles, pulling down. I like it. That's the way I like. So I think you can see at this point now, just 20 minutes into recording, maybe only like 15 minutes of painting, something of the quality of the painting is starting to come out. And something of this colour. So far I like this colour. You know, the bossiness that I was talking about. Is it really a bad thing at all? It can make it more difficult to work with, but sometimes a kind of bossy character, you want a bossy character around. Sometimes you really need it to get things done. And the bossiness also means there's a kind of ethereal quality, well, that it brings. I do really like it. But quite hard to get back to that light. It's taking a lot more white than I thought. Wow, more even. This warm white's not that cheap. I should have used a cheaper white. More. Just gonna use it all up. So, hopefully you can see that the way I'm painting this at the moment feels kind of like I'm sculpting. That's the way I like to think about it. Pushing and pulling of paint is sculpting. And loads of people will disagree with this. They'll say, nah, you can't really get to where you need to get to doing it this way, because of the inaccuracy, because of the messiness. You know, if you were doing a sort of Barg copy kind of thing, the whole point of that kind of academic process is to copy meticulously. But that's not what I just don't think that's what painting is. I think that's a pre-photography way of thinking about painting. People feel passionate about this, so hopefully I don't get too much hate for saying that. I think I do think there's room for all sorts of painting. That's the really nice thing, is that actually you don't need to choose. Some people can do it one way. I can do it my way. And you can do it your way. And we can all talk about which way's better. But ultimately, doesn't matter that much. We're all still pals. I only really have a problem when people start saying, this is the way. The only way. So what I'm finding with this turquoise and orange mixture is a little tricky to get the darks, because if you add too much orange, it's going to shift over into that. And I don't want that. That's mud. I want it to stay a shade of the phthalo. So there's two ways to kind of address this. I could introduce something else to try and get it back, to get darker. I mean, like maybe just like ivory black or something. Or, and this is what I'm actually going to do, is just keep pushing and keep working and say, hey, do you know what? Actually, this painting, the value range of this painting doesn't go to those extremes. I just want to learn, because you remember I'm doing this to learn about this color. So I'm just going to learn about where I can get with this phthalo turquoise by just then lightening it, darkening it slightly. What I do is that paintbrush. I seem to have lost the paintbrush with paint on it. Where did I put it? Why does this always happen? It's alright, you can relax, I found it. It was right in front of my eyes. There's some dark passages here that I want to capture. I'm not going to paint all the hair. I just want to imply that there's a hairstyle of some kind there. That bottom lip isn't quite right. In the reference, it's a really big fool. Yeah, it's a bit more like that. A little bit, but not quite. It's a wee bit ducky. Okay, so now I'm going to do some fun bits on some nice... Talking about the paintbrush on my mouth, but I shouldn't do. We'll start to build up some of the light areas. But see, I've made a little mistake there. I don't know if you can see that, but I didn't properly clean my brush. And so those light areas are infected with some of the sort of muckier orangey turquoise. So it's a little bit grey. I don't like that. So I'm going to mix it again with no orange. And hopefully that should make it nice and bright. You know, whenever you add white, and I'm sure you all know this, or many of you will know this, it desaturates the colour. So you have to be careful. That was a bad mark. You have to be careful you don't lose colour, lose the chroma, because it can really kill a painting. And just save the areas of kind of pure white for the end, which I'm going to have just a few of now. I say pure white, it's not actually pure white, but maybe it should be. Wow. Oh, I don't like that much. So there are things I would change about this. You know, as I kind of come into this, I was pretty open. It's just a little experiment in this colour. Well, I like this colour. I think it's got a wonderful, weird quality that I am keen to learn more about. So the next step might be something like working out how to integrate this into a wider palette. Like one way of doing that might be to do a kind of Zorn +1. If you're not sure what that means, Zorn is a Swedish painter who's famous for only using a very limited palette. Now, I think there's a lot of dispute whether he really only did use that palette. I think there's tons of evidence that he used other pigments too, but in a way it doesn't really matter. He he's known for the palette, the Zorn palette, which is black, a red, a yellow, like an ochre, and oh yeah, white. So it'd be quite common for people to do a kind of Zorn +1, where they say, okay, I'm going to have that, the black, the red, the yellow, and the white. By the way, in that, your black is your blue, because rarely is there a pure black. So something like an ivory black, if you mix it with the yellow, will make a kind of very pale green. A low chroma green. And when you put that next to something red, something pinky, it really can speak green. There's loads of evidence that Zorn used other pigments, by the way. I do know that. But it's a great way to learn with a reduced limited palette. And so in this case, it's great for me to learn more about how this pigment works. I'm nearly finished. I just noticed there was some kind of shapes under the eyes that I think I need just to describe a little more the form. I've just noticed also there's another little highlight that I missed that I think is important. One of the problems I have with doing little studies, little sketches like this, it's very hard to stop. Once I get going, it is hard to stop. Like many things in life. So I've got these clamps on because it's a slightly awkward thing to paint on. You know, normally I would just put this on the table and just hold it with my hand, but it's pretty hard to record in that situation, so I'm just going to use this to fill it up in. It's easy. It's a bad line. Okay. Yeah. That's it. We're going to stop. Okay, all done. I mean, it's not done. Obviously, it's not done. There's loads wrong with it. There's loads that could be better. It could end up being quite a nice painting, I think. But I'm going to stop. I'm going to call it done. Because it's just a test. Okay, all done. Study in what is it? Phthalocyanine, turquoise. There we go. 40 minutes. That was too long.